It seems like you almost have to be juggling a few different roles at some point in business to even get to where you can just focus on one thing.
Yeah. Any owner starting a business will have all the hats in the beginning.
Exactly.
Yeah, very much so.
It's the most rewarding but most challenging thing you'll ever do is to be a business leader. It just is. But it is. There's a reward.
There's a big sense of fulfillment. And some days it feels like we're the only people that work 80 hours, so we don't have to work 40. Well, good morning and welcome back to another episode of the Cost of Doing Business podcast. I am in Romney, West Virginia here with Randall and met his team this morning. We're already 2 hours into chatting and hanging out, talking shop. But yeah, give everyone an introduction, you know, to your name, your company name, and what your team looks like, what kind of jobs you do, and that kind of thing.
Sure. Okay. Our company name's MR Landscapes. We're strictly a maintenance company for probably the first, ever since, I guess that's kind of how it started. Mm-hmm. Now we're kind of a typical lawn care company story, transitioning mostly to hardscapes. There's 7 of us right now, and I am in partnership with Dakota. Yeah, I'd say right now we're probably, hard to put a percentage exactly what percentage is maintenance and what's install. But I would say we're probably about 85% install versus maintenance.
Sure.
Enjoy that more.
Mm-hmm.
There's definitely, looking back now, I feel like mowing really was a very great way to start because it got you out in the community.
Mm-hmm.
And
people would learn to know who you are.
Know who we are. And so, I enjoyed it for sure.
Yeah.
But it got to the point where it kind of comes back to our first year. Dakota and I would have been at H&A. We walked through the one doorway kind of into the hardscape part. We just looked at each other. We're like, you know what? There's a reason this stuff. It was almost a different vibe. The people were kind of dressed up, really nice booths. We hadn't done a whole lot of hardscaping yet, and we were like, you know what? It just feels like this is maybe the route we want to go, and money would probably be a little better, a little better margins. Yeah. So that's the way that's why we'd kind of gravitated more towards that, and something we more enjoyed, for sure. But like I said, I don't want to ever talk down the maintenance side of things because I feel like it's just a different, it's just a different business model. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and very good to us. We had, the community was great. Relationships that later led to a hardscape project for some of our maintenance customers, for sure.
Absolutely, that definitely happens. Mm-hmm. What year did you start, your mowing and
the mowing? So it would have been, our first yard was our neighbor. I'd have probably been 13, something like that. So we had just a little John Deere riding mower. And put a weed eater on a cart and rode down there and mowed it. So that would have been 13. I'm 31 now, so.
Wow.
So 18 years ago.
Have to do the math, yeah.
Something like that, 18.
When did you actually, when did it become serious enough that you're like, oh, this is my business name, we're in business?
Sure. So it would have taken a couple years. Probably when I decided to pursue it even more was when I got my license then. Okay. Because that would, obviously, I couldn't go that far.
Yeah, right. But you had the range of the John Deere riding mower.
Exactly. Or Mom, there for a little bit, Mom would, we had a trailer, she'd pull it to a yard. And, drop me off. I'd spin the rig around for her and then she'd leave. So, but then I would say around when I was 16 is when it kind of came my summer thing. It wouldn't have been enough to keep 2-3 guys going all summer, but and then it just kind of grew a little bit, got into a little bit of commercial, but it was mainly word of mouth. Yeah, we wouldn't have done a whole lot of advertising, and then 7 years ago, which would make it, what would that be, 18? In 2018. I was thinking of just selling the mowing to Dakota. Okay. We didn't even tell you this, but we're business partners now. But I was going to sell to him, and Dad owned a successful plumbing business, and I was like, well, there might be a future there. So because I just didn't think it was going to be enough to keep me going. Winters were still always just a challenge. And so that's what we planned to do. I was going to help Dakota for a month, and then kind of meet customers, show them the ropes a little bit, because he did some mowing as well. And then it just like exploded that spring, and we're like, well, I don't know what to do now. So we ended up adding a crew and just doing like contracting labor back and forth, which was a disaster.
I see. So you were going to sell the maintenance to Dakota, and you were going to keep doing install?
So back then we were strictly mowing.
Okay, so what were you going to do then?
Work for Dad.
At the plumbing business?
At the plumbing business, yeah.
So you were trying to get out, you were trying to offload.
I was just going to offload. I was like, back then install and hardscaping wouldn't even been in my radar. Like, wow. It just wasn't. I enjoyed what I did, but like I said, I felt like there was a pretty good future there. And I mean, I had been mowing for a while. Not that I was like burnt out, but I was like, I mean, at some point I'd like to have a family. What am I going to do in the winter? Some of that.
Right.
So I was just going to offload. But then we were strictly maintenance for probably the first 2 years Dakota and I were together. But yeah, so we just teamed up I should say teamed up. Yeah, we worked contracted back and forth, which is a disaster. Our accountants did not like that. So at the end of the year, it just forced a conversation. We're like, what are we going to do now? What are we going to do? So we just formed a partnership at that point.
Okay.
I think we can work this out. So yeah, we're 50-50 partners. And have an operating agreement and all that.
Mm-hmm. Smart.
So yeah, we had a lot of with the community here, and my dad, and he's in a partnership as well. So there's a few businessmen that have helped us.
Sure.
For sure. My cousin Mike have just helped us with some of the legal end of things.
Yeah, partnership and operating agreement should never be separated from each other. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's good that you had some mentors to help you get that in place, because this partnerships sometimes get a bad rap, and usually it's because there was no operating agreement, or there was nothing legal, or no predetermined agreements or understandings. And when things are left open to interpretation, that's when problems happen. Yeah. Because like, I thought, no, you thought, you said, that's when it happens.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, communication's been a big thing.
Yeah.
And I think it takes, like, I've been, because you hear that a lot, like, well, what's the famous saying? The only ship that doesn't sail is a partnership, or something like that.
That's right.
So there's definitely been challenges, but I think we're friends as well, but I think you just have to wear different hats at work. You're partners, and after work, you're friends. But it forces communication and probably a lot of humility too. And it helps to, obviously, the person you're in partnership with, if they're willing to pull their weight. But I mean, I feel like we both have the same goals, and we both do our share. So between humility and finding our strengths and kind of rolling with it, our different roles, it's been good.
Mm-hmm. And what is your role? What does your day-to-day look like in the business?
So I know we talked a little bit about it off air, but I do most of the estimating, scheduling, meeting customers, kind of a little more the business side of things. Me and Dakota are obviously in communication with each other for sure. Right now, I know we talked about this too, is we're both on the job site more than we probably should be. But Dakota's Dakota's strength would be the equipment. He loves the goal. Last year we had a good system going where I did a lot of the estimating. Maybe I was like estimator and project manager, which is roles we need to get figured out here. But he kind of like started a job, got the crew going, and we had the help that could kind of carry on the job, and then he'd kind of come back and do the final grading. I mean, we'd hydro seed around the wall or something like that. So, so he kind of ran with running the actual project, and then I would estimate and all that. So right now, like I said, both of us are still a little more involved on every project than we should be. But yeah, as a general rule, meeting customers, estimating.
Yep.
kind of the business side.
So you mentioned like you're on the projects more than you should be. Just to kind of like click into that for people listening that might feel like they're in the same place. What would you say is suffering or not getting the love and attention it needs from you because you are on the project more than you should be?
Probably just kind of the little details. It seemed to me, for me, well, Dakota and I both, like, the work part of business is the fun and kind of it comes natural, easy part, and the business side of it is kind of the tough part. It takes a lot of work.
Yeah.
So I know we had talked too. We have, as far as the accounting part of our business, I don't have to do too much of that, but probably something that can suffer something that has suffered this spring is just like I used to try to really get back to people. If I got a phone call, couldn't answer a voicemail, I mean, I'd like to call them back in a few hours, worst case. And sometimes it might be the next day till I get back to him now. And that's not that I can't call him in the evening, but it just, I feel like communication with people trying to get a hold of us, and that has definitely probably suffered more than it should have.
Yeah.
And then just obviously we use SynkedUP, and so there's some of the maybe behind the scenes setup stuff with tracking hours. If something isn't tracked, it might mean because I didn't get it entered in.
Sure. Right.
Like a little mulch job in town. So then when I get back in the office, they write down their hours, and I have to do everything manually. Do it all through.
Because something didn't get done back there, there's a domino effect.
Exactly.
Yeah, through the process.
So it just puts more work on me.
Which also creates a less consistent experience for your team.
Exactly.
Yeah. That makes sense. What is the next step that you perceive that needs to happen for you to create the space needed in your schedule to be able to do those things? Like, what is the next kind of like, I got to do this so that I can give these other areas of the business the attention it needs?
We're just looking for an important hire, I guess, or maybe shifting roles with the employees we have.
Okay. Redefining.
Redefining a few different roles. But yeah, it needs to, I think our next step is for Dakota to be still involved with maybe finishing projects, and maybe even if it takes a little bit to bridge the gap, him being on the job more than I am is fine to get me away. But we need to get someone that can be our hardscape guy. We need a key hardscape employee. So I think that's our next step.
Someone to lead the hardscape install.
Someone to lead the hardscape install is I think that would be our next step, to where I could get involved a little more in the business, which would free up the things that I'm dropping the ball on.
Sure. So that you can work on the business more than the actual work.
Work on the business, not in the business.
In it. Yeah.
So that's kind of the stage we're going through right now, Dakota and I, is to get a few more key employees, or like I said, I like moving people up. Yeah. In like using the employees we have, if we could get to where we could get that figured out, Dakota and I could work a little more on the business
strategically.
Exactly.
Yeah, makes sense. With the things that you're balancing now, like what soaks up the most of your time? Is it the estimating? Is it the managing customer relationships? What would you say is the bulk of your time gets spent on? Obviously,
it's a little plug for SynkedUP, but between the estimating part is great. I mean, we use templates. So yeah, as far as estimating, I don't feel like it's something that I could shave a whole lot of time off of. It's
meaning you've already done that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So as far as estimating goes, no. Bulk of my time now, well, I mean, I guess like the meeting the customers. So like what can happen now is I on the job till 3-4 o'clock. Hopefully I can get away early to meet one customer. So I write all their information down, and then I try to squeeze in an estimate, or maybe that's happening Monday, and then I know I'm going to be in the office Friday. I schedule a day in the office Friday. And so it goes a couple days till I get an estimate out. And
Sure.
I don't like that either.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting that you say you don't like that because it's one thing I see is contractors will often say, well, somebody else was cheaper, that's why I lost the job. And when in fact, studies show that the most significant thing that wins the proposal is who has the first quote back, or who has the first proposal back. And so if you can be, the customer is never going to be hotter than that moment when you're in the backyard with a can of paint and a notepad,
Exactly.
So if you, the shorter the time between that moment and when you have the proposal back to them, is the more your close rate will go up.
Yeah. And our close rate has been great as far as like hardscapers in the area here. There's not really that much competition.
Sure.
But something that I try to do right now while we're trying to juggle a few things and get a few things more in line is try to be upfront with them. Is be like, look.
Tell them what's going to happen next. Communicate well.
Yep. So I know what you guys want. We talked about your project. I'm going to be in the office Friday. By Friday evening, you'll definitely have a quote.
Yeah.
And so telling them that up front is because it seems like you almost have to be juggling a few different roles at some point in business to even get to where you can just focus on one thing.
Yeah.
So and that's how it feels for us. It's hard to just have clear cut roles through as you grow.
Yeah. So. Yeah. Any owner starting a business will have all the hats in the beginning.
Exactly.
Yeah, very much so. But yeah, I agree very much with what you're saying about, okay, so let's say you can't get it back to them same day. At least do a fantastic job of communicating and telling the customer exactly what's going to happen next and when, and then honor your word. Like, don't go back on it. Or if something does happen which will prevent you from fulfilling your commitment, immediately communicate with the customer and tell them what the change is.
Absolutely.
That goes a long way, as opposed to just like, well, it's been 2 weeks, I haven't heard from him, and
it is even now with having templates and things in SynkedUP, I can go home, eat dinner, and maybe while my wife is bathing the baby, I can slide out an estimate. You know what I mean? So that things like that, I still try not to let it go very long. Yeah. Because like you said, when they're thinking of the project and you just went over it is the best time to get an estimate as soon as possible.
That's right.
And I mean, ideally, I would love to get to the point where I don't leave till I have an estimate in their hands. So. And
depending on the type of jobs you're doing, you could totally do that.
Exactly.
If you're doing big multi-six-figure jobs with designs and engineering and all of that, that's different.
Absolutely.
You can't do that. But if you're doing your classic, 20 by 20 backyard patio, there's no reason that can't be like 15 minutes before I leave the driveway. I'm either going home with a no or a deposit.
Yeah, exactly.
One or the other.
Exactly. Yeah.
Not a to-do item for this evening.
You're right.
You're
right. Yeah. And the other thing that can happen with waiting longer to get your estimate to them is there might be a little detail
that you miss.
Yeah, that you miss because it's not fresh on your mind. So.
Or the guy that they talked to 3 weeks ago comes back for them with their proposal.
Exactly.
And maybe they liked something about it, and the next thing you know, or they just have a conversation and suddenly they decide they want the boat instead of the patio.
Exactly.
It's like people think that. I remember going through this with Tussie. We're like, nobody makes $100,000 investment in their spends $100,000 on a job on impulse. Kind of true, but we are human beings and we make decisions on emotion. And what can happen, sure, you may not drop $100,000 or even $20,000 or $10,000 on impulse, but you might on impulse switch what you're going to do with that money. So suddenly it's like, well, you know what? Let's skip the patio. Let's do the vacation, or let's do the boat or the side-by-side or whatever.
Exactly.
You're competing. Often you're not necessarily competing with your competition. You're competing with what else they could do with that money.
You're right.
In their hobbies. And that's where the impulse layer comes in on it. Even if it's big ticket.
Yeah. Very true. Yeah. No, and I know we mentioned we're now went through classes and we're fiberglass pool, we're going that route too with fiberglass pools. So obviously with that, I don't expect to be able to
turn that around. Yeah.
Give it in 15 minutes after I leave, have them a quote for that. But yeah, communication is huge for customers.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Even some of the bigger projects we've done. I know one time I didn't even think about it when I was meeting the customer, but at the end of the project, they talked to me and were like, "Thank you so much for when you came out and met us. You didn't act rushed. We had people here that were like, it felt like they had 10 other things they would rather be doing while we were going over our project." So that's the other thing, that when you're wearing 5-6 different hats.
Yeah, it can happen.
Can happen. So it was just a good reminder for me to do.
Yeah.
But.
Yeah. Give people the respect to be fully present and fully paying attention.
Exactly.
Yeah, it can, because like how you make them feel during that process is how they're going to judge what it's going to be like to do the work with you. Meaning, if you tell them you'll have it back by Friday and then it's Wednesday the next week and they still haven't heard from you, well, what's it going to be like if they give you the job?
Exactly.
You know, probably a similar experience. Or if you didn't really hear what they were asking for and give them a proposal for something that's not really what they had in mind, communication problems, well, then what's it going to be like when the job's getting done? Probably similar, So that moment on the consultation it's a very impactful. You're setting that first impression.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So what would you say has been the most difficult challenge you've overcome in your story or in your journey?
I mean, obviously there's been, we've talked a little bit about the employee challenge, but I don't feel like we've totally overcome that. And I don't think it's necessarily, I know there's people that you hear this, like, it's just so hard to find help, or people that care. And I don't know, I think there's I definitely feel there's good people out there.
Oh yeah.
I don't think it's a person problem. I think it's just a challenge in business, and it often comes down to the leaders and how they portray their roles. If they're not clear enough what the role could look like, or maybe that's a frustration for guys you have working for you already. If you would communicate and be like, "Hey, there's this lead hardscape foreman
there's an opportunity
coming up. Would you be willing?" Maybe that would have solved the issue all along. So I think, there's definitely challenges with employees, but I feel like that's not something you can overcome in business. I feel like it's just always something that, not really a problem, but it's something you always have to work through.
You're always working on.
Or that's how it seems. Probably the biggest one for us is the winters. So starting out when you're just a maintenance company, we were all pumped because 2 years in, after Dakota and I teamed up, we actually ended up buying out a company in Winchester, Virginia, a maintenance company. Definitely some very good commercial work. And we were like, this is our answer. It's snow removal in the winter. Well, it's also Winchester, Virginia. 1 year you might get 2 feet to 3 feet of snow. The next year you might not get any. So we thought we had that problem solved, but not necessarily. It can definitely float you. Like last winter was a good winter, and it did. But I think just learning to set back while you are busy, and have
meaning set back cash.
Set back cash while you are busy in the summer, and maybe hold off on that new piece of equipment. Maybe you can push that off till the spring, and to just have a little more reserve. So I think that's probably the biggest challenge we've overcome, is to have a pile of cash. Try to have a pile of cash to make it through the winter, because that can be tough to make it through. And so I'm hesitant to say we've overcame that, because I mean, you never know how your technically busy season is going to look like, but I think we have learned to be a little more disciplined in how we spend it, to have a reserve to where that keeps you through the.
And I think a key trap that I see, and I know we were talking about an accountant, and this is making me think of her again before we were recording, is that one of the things that I've seen her do for contractors is she sets up their accounting and their books so that they can see how much cash is actually theirs to spend as they see fit. Meaning, if you're collecting deposits or you're in peak cash flow season in the middle of the season, it can feel like you're doing really well, when in fact, a significant chunk of that is for deposits on jobs you haven't paid for yet, or winter expenses that you haven't paid for yet. So one of the things that can be very helpful is setting it up, set your books up in a way that allow you to see like, oh, there might be $100,000 in the bank account, but really only $20,000 of that is mine. You know, the rest of it is deposits for materials I haven't bought yet, or you know, it can be all kinds of things. And so getting that visibility is really important. And I think that's one of the traps we fall into as a seasonal business is we're like, oh, wow, like we're doing great. It's June or July and things are fantastic. So we go out there and buy the equipment. And then January comes around and it's like, ooh, I probably moved a little too quickly or I didn't plan through it enough. And that's where the SynkedUP budgeting can become so helpful.
Absolutely.
Because you can put it in, put it into your budget and be like, well, what would it do to my hourly rate to be able to afford this cost year round, you know? Or another example is a conversation we were having about, you know, putting your core employees onto salary that has a consistent income for them year round. And when you do that in the SynkedUP budget, essentially what happens is you make the cash flow even for your employees, so it gives them a more stable life financially. But then what that means, though, is in the summertime, it's going to look like you have a lot of cash, and then it gets depleted in the winter. But it's all planned for, and you have that visibility when you're budgeting for it and looking forward instead of just what I call bank account barometer, which is what a lot of contractors run by. It's like, well, how much is in the bank account? Do I have the money for it or not? That's a dangerous place to be. Making decisions.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know the whole getting deposits for projects can get you in trouble too, because you want to make a move on a piece of equipment, so you steal $10,000 from this down payment, and it's not really your cash to spend.
That's right.
That's definitely something that we try to stay on top of. And something I've learned too is with the whole down payments is, even if you're a month out on the project and they want to keep moving forward and you want to get their down payment, is most of the time it's not a problem if the materials are sitting there for a month.
Exactly.
So like, order the materials, get them delivered, so at least they can see their cash out on skids.
Sure.
Type thing.
Yeah.
So
and that also can eliminate a lot of challenges. Like a point that I want to double click on there is like when you order the product way ahead of time, like as soon as you sold the job, it helps you avoid issues like, oh, that's on back order. It's going to be 3 weeks before I can get it. You know, you just get rid of all of that. And those are the kinds of things that can really kill your production.
Absolutely.
You know, if you were like, I remember we learned that lesson the hard way at Tessie, where we used to order things a few days or a week before we wanted to kick it off. And then those things would kill us. Yeah. You know, like suddenly we can't do the job because we don't have the thing, you know? And so we're trying to do something else, and that's what kills efficiency. But what we ultimately ended up doing was the moment we closed the job, the deposit was big enough to cover the materials. Yes. And we would immediately order the materials and either bring them to our yard and we would run them out to the job site ourselves later. Sure. Or like what you said, like deliver them to the site. Yeah, or I've even just done the same thing if it's a smaller project that you can just haul out on a trailer or this or that. I've already just got it delivered to the shop and then snap a picture and send it to the customer to be like, hey, here's your stuff. Yeah. Just so you know we're on track. Yeah. So. That's great. And that's a great example of how you can communicate with the customer in that downtime between the closing and the actual kickoff. Yeah, I like that. Keeps the excitement going. Exactly. Yeah. And something else maybe that I was going to mention it for sure when we were talking with SynkedUP is maybe a plug is we've gotten comments like, man, you're the only contractor that has like a legit looking contract. Or like, we like how your proposal is set up. And so I think that goes a long way, because we actually had one customer that said we had, I forget if it was 2 or 3 contractors come out and look at a project and give us a quote, but you guys were like the only one that had anything official. Like the rest of it was just like an email and so I think that's important too. Yeah. And then with that, they can play with the toggle switches to see there's different work areas. That we've gotten a lot of comments on that too. So I think it simplifies with the templates. You can get your estimate out quick, but then also they can like physically see the numbers. They don't have to sit there on a calculator to see if I don't choose this one, what's that cost?
it plays with the numbers as they're messing with the numbers.
So you turn the options on and off of the different work areas. The total's updating live down there at the bottom. So you're like, turn it off, turn it back on, turn it off, turn it back on.
Exactly.
And the other thing I like about it is it puts the customer into a choosing and buying mindset versus a I'm being sold to mindset. Because when the proposal opens, everything's off. And they have to turn on everything that they want, right? And so it kind of just has that subtle shift, and it makes the customer feel like they're in control.
That's right, yeah.
And not only that, that's one aspect. The other aspect is it can prevent a lot of back and forth, because you're like, well, we talked about this, we talked about that, and we even talked about this. And you can give all three options and say, pick whichever one you want.
Yeah, and even different like material pricing.
Yeah.
Maybe the same project, but you can...
Here's what that patio would be with the more economical product or the more expensive product. Choose whichever one you want.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah. But I like that, because when you don't have optional line items on your proposals, if anything is a little off, what's going to happen is you're like, well, hey, what if we take this off? And then you're like, oh, let me adjust it and send it back out. And you're like, well, actually, what if, and it can create a lot of back and forth. It takes time.
It does, yeah. Yeah, so no, we have gotten comments on that. And
that's great.
That's been a big help for sure.
Glad to hear that. What is the best advice you've ever been given?
I've listened to your podcast, so I figured this question was coming. So I've been thinking about it a little bit after we set up this appointment. Probably, I had to think of two different things, personal and business side.
Sure.
So personal side is surround yourself with good people. That can translate to business. You can surround yourself with fellow business owners, mentors.
Yeah.
It affects who you end up with in marriage. If you surround yourself with good people, because those are some very important decisions that will affect you the rest of your life.
That's right.
So yeah, I think that's very powerful, is who you surround yourself with and who you look up to. If you're around bad people, it affects you in a negative way very quickly. It's hard to make them come your way if you technically are the good person.
Yeah.
So I think that was a piece of advice or a saying that's been brought up, just whether it's been in church or just a handful of people I've talked to over the years, and I think that's been a huge piece of advice. Business side, I was trying to think who actually told me this. I read the book Extreme Ownership.
Yes.
But never blame your employees. If a customer calls and is like, just goes off in a rant about something that happened, just take the blame on yourself. I just feel like it's very humiliating for an employee if you throw them under the bus. And it can be hard, because there's times where you weren't even involved on that project, like a maintenance, for instance.
Sure.
And it's like, that weed eating is common sense. You should have hit it, but just apologize for it and say, I'm sorry. That was a lack of training on our part, or maybe we didn't communicate like we should have. Maybe it wasn't clear the property line. And so I think that's been, a very important piece for me business-wise is, just take the blame. Because essentially you're the leader. So
that's right. It is your fault. Because I like the points you're making, I agree with, is like, maybe I didn't train well enough. Or maybe I didn't communicate that, like you said, the property line where we need to go to with our maintenance, or at the very end, even if you did all of those things and they still missed it, well, then it's still your fault, because they're still working for you.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's just kind of part of being technically the business leader is.
It's right.
Yeah.
I love that book, Extreme Ownership. I actually should read it again. It's been a couple years.
Same.
But that book was, I think, the first one that I read that I would say genuinely changed the way I think, or the way I look at those kinds of situations. Because like the natural human response is just to blame. Well, he should have never done that. Just been like be very blamey and deflect responsibility and or ownership, and I really, really like that book.
And I think too, like when you do that to a customer, if they're complaining about the project or what happened on their site, it's if you throw the employee under the bus, it kind of feeds their frustration already. Whereas you kind of diffuse it. If you're like, I'm sorry, I'll do whatever it takes to fix it. That was my bad. And it seems like it diffuses it even.
It does. Like, so if you come to an employee with like, hey, there was this problem, they might expect to get the blame. But then when you're like, hey, what could I have done to prevent this? Like, should I have walked the property with you first? Or like, I just want to make sure this doesn't happen again. What can I do to make sure it doesn't? And just in the way you show up. This stuff's all easier said than done. I'm just reflecting. Okay, well, how am I doing against these principles?
Yeah, and I would like to say it's advice. Not saying I've always done it correctly.
Exactly.
But it's a good piece of advice, and it's something I try to attain for sure.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. See if my employees listen to this, and they might have some critique for me too. So you've been at this kind of for your whole life, really. If you were to go back to, I'm not going to say when you were 13 starting to mow grass for your neighbors. I'm going to say when you went into business and you got your own truck and you were like, okay, I'm doing this as a business. If you would go back to that moment, what is one thing you would do differently?
Probably do like classes, or I'd probably take classes on like the bookkeeping end, like the accounting part.
Okay.
And like business structure, maybe. Like what all's involved to be a legal business. Maybe a little more in that. And also, like, I feel like early on, and even before SynkedUP, you just kind of like throw out what you think you should be charging. And I feel like if I would have had a little more direction as far as like, what's this in the marketplace? What are they charging? I mean, you kind of know, but you just still kind of just wing it in a way.
Yeah.
So I think having a little more teaching and maybe a mentor, maybe a little more mentorship, and a few of those basic business things.
Go seek it out.
Yeah, seek it out a little more and try to have a few of those things in order before you just send it. So,
yeah, making the leap from what's everybody else charging or what's the market rate for this to what do I have to charge? Yeah. Because you're absolutely right. That's the very normal path is like, well, what's everybody else charging? Well, I'll be in the middle or whatever to then arriving at the point where you're frustrated with like, well, I'm charging what seems to be in the middle and I don't have any money. Where's it all going?
Exactly.
Which then drives you to crunching your own numbers, which then drives you to, okay, well, this is what I have to have.
Yeah, exactly.
And making that mental leap from I have to charge what everybody else charges or I won't get the job to well, this is the business I've built. This is the infrastructure and the equipment and the team that we have, and this is what we have to have for it to be profitable. Yeah. And if the customer's not willing to pay for it, that's not my problem. I have to go find the next one. Go find the right market, Yeah.
And I think, too, like SynkedUP has helped us with that. Like, we build a budget. You figure for all your overhead and everything. And then, so you end up the price you got to have. You have to have to make money, and that's helped us for sure. That's helped us helped us tremendously.
It kills all the mental battles that you fight when you get rejected or when the customer comes back and says you're so much more expensive. Because void of clarity, that sends you off on a spiral of like, why? Like what? Like how can they be doing it for so cheap, right? But with clarity, you'll be like, well, they must. Either they're extremely more efficient than I am, which could be the case, or they don't know they don't know their own costs, and there's an end to that road,
Yeah, and something else that, so like when you're young and just want to conquer everything, get every job you can, you will drop your price a little bit to get the job because you really want the job. And I had to think of I was in a conversation. I was actually at a family gathering, and one of my uncles, I forget, they asked him something about his estimating. He said, well, when I put out estimates, he said, I don't want to get everyone. Yeah. And that's been something to think about too, to remember is like, this is what I have to have because I know this is my overhead. Like it's all in there for SynkedUP and so if you're out there pricing and getting every job, that might actually not be a good thing. Yeah.
Exactly. It probably is not a good thing. Well, either that or you have an extremely good vetting and qualifying process set up,
true.
But if you're winning every lead, that's not a good thing. If you're winning every proposal you create, that could be true because of your vetting and qualifying of your sales process, because you weed them out.
Exactly.
But yeah, you're absolutely right. You're not going to win every job, nor should you expect to. And if you are desperate, like, your customers can smell that. You know, they can feel that on you. It's just in the way you show up. And I can even think of experiences where I was the buyer of, like, say, I don't know, I've hired an electrician, you know, where I was the buyer to do a thing for a contractor, and I'm like, oh man, it's so expensive, or like I didn't think it was that big of a job or that big of a deal, and they're just like, well, it is what it is, and you're just like, okay, well, if I want it, this is what it is,
Exactly.
or you know, but if they're not confident, well, I'm just kind of waiting to see what you do. Like, you're gonna give me, what for discount are you gonna give me? You know?
Exactly.
But if you're confident, and it's just like, and you're a great communicator about, like, well, you could do X, Y, Z and bring the price down. I'm like, oh, okay, that's the only way the price is going to come down. Then I can make that decision.
Exactly.
And I think that's a key thing in the sales process is, as a salesperson, you have to make the client make their own decisions. Don't make it for them. Meaning, don't assume they don't want the more expensive option, or don't assume that they wouldn't consider reducing the scope of the work to get the price down to something that they for the cash that they do have. You know, just your job is to be the subject matter expert and give them all the options that they could, all the levers they could pull to arrive at where they might want to get to. You know.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, that's a key. I like that, and that some of that comes with time and experience of, like, not being so hungry, not being so desperate for each and every job.
Yeah, and it can be. I mean, yeah, it's almost a different mindset than you're used to before you know your numbers.
Yeah.
It bothers you when you don't get something, when you don't get a job, and so which if you get the job and you don't make money, what's the point of working?
That's right.
For free? So,
Yeah. If you're gonna pay for the privilege of doing the job, you may as well go off and go fishing or do something else.
Yeah, exactly.
When you signed on with SynkedUP, you're a little over a year in, right? When you signed on with SynkedUP, I'm curious, like, what was the moment when you were, like, logged in and figuring it out? What was the moment that you were like, okay, yes, this is what I need?
I think a huge thing for me was, well, after all our overhead and everything was in, and then probably doing my first estimate, was seeing, like, your margins. And I'm like, yeah, you in your head, you kind of hope you're hitting this margin, because, I mean, 5%, I mean, okay, it depends what size and how big of a company you are, but for a smaller company, if you're at 5-10% margins, that's
razor thin.
Yeah, razor thin. So it's so easy to see when you get your estimate figured out, is where your margin's at, and you're like, you know what, I like to be 25-30% margins here, so you just bump up your price. So I think that was huge. And then when you do the project, looking back, you're like, how did I actually?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, because I think what's so easy to miss in what you're calling out is the difference between gross profit and net profit. And what I mean by that is, when you're doing your estimate, you're like, oh, it's $5,000 worth of labor, my cost, and it's $5,000 worth of materials, so $10,000 out of pocket expenses. So $20,000 feels like a lot. Like a 50% gross margin feels like a lot. But when you add in all your overhead expenses, all your equipment payments, all your operational expenses, you quickly realize that, yes, your direct costs are $10,000, but you also have another $7,000 in operational costs in that time frame that's going to take you to do the job. So your true margin is only the $3,000, not the $10,000. And that visibility is very helpful to be like, it kills the temptation to cut the price just to win the job. Yeah,
and something like, looking back now, like when we did estimating the hard way, like with over paper, like you. I mean, I had like a percentage or a number I used to add to projects for, like, equipment, but like, what about your trailers, or what about your office admin?
Yeah,
things like that. Like,
what about your QuickBooks subscription?
Exactly.
What about your salaries for your whatever you're going to pay your people over the winter?
And something else that it helped with was, so I was always out on the job working. Like, that's how this all started. Like, I was out there, and it also it gives me the freedom that when I'm in the office for a day or a couple of days this week, that I'm budgeted to be in here.
Yes,
I don't
exactly.
have to be out there making money. I'm doing what I actually need to do to keep things
you
going.
planned for
Yes.
it, you created the margin for it, you accounted for the cost for it, and you charged that rate through all the summer months.
Yeah.
And now it's like, I am doing exactly what I need to do, and which gives you the margin to work on your business instead of
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's been very helpful too.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you for giving me the time to come and visit you guys and meet your team. That was really enjoyable. I really enjoyed meeting your guys. You have a really nice location, really nice business, and a really nice team.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel very blessed, and it's the most rewarding but most challenging thing you'll ever do is to be a business leader. It just is. But it is. There's a reward to it.
There is a reward to it. There's a big sense of fulfillment. And some days it feels like we're the only people that work 80 hours, so we don't have to work 40.
Yeah.
But on the other side, there's a tremendous reward and fulfillment that comes out of making a customer's dream or a vision come true for them in their backyard or whatever service you provide, and B, helping people grow and realize their fullest potential, as employees or finding. And I am very grateful for my time at Toxic Landscaping because I very much feel like I was given that opportunity to grow. And if I hadn't had that opportunity, I wouldn't be here. So it's what the role you hold as a business owner is a very impactful one.
Yeah, and even if back to the frustration of keeping help, or not necessarily keeping help, or you have young guys that come through. If nothing else, hopefully you taught them something that they can take with wherever they end up in their career.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
I think even that can be powerful.
Yep.
So,
well, thank you very much, Randall.
You're very welcome.
Thanks for your time. And where can people find you before we wrap this up?
So we're working on our social media plans.
Okay.
We just did open an Instagram page, which I know we're behind. But we had a Facebook page for a good while.
Okay.
And then we do have, it's MR Landscapes.
Okay.
Facebook and Instagram. And then we do have a website. MR Landscapes was not available. So our address is, it's like www.mrlawncareservices.com.
Okay.
And we're based out of Romney. But yeah.
Okay.
That's something that we're working on. We have one of our ladies in the office enjoys the social media part of it, so we're going to try to push that and give a little more of the range. We did pretty well at posting our work, but maybe some Instagram and maybe some videos.
Yeah.
Something we want to. There again, got a lot of hats and try to. That's not really my strength anyway. So, So I think it's something we want to grow. It's definitely something we plan to grow.
Absolutely.
But yeah, there's stuff on.
Okay. Well, I'll go give you a follow. Okay. And one thing I'll say about the social media thing before I hit stop on the recording here is social media for marketing is like planting a tree. Meaning, if you want shade, plant a tree 10 years ago. It's if you want leads and stuff from social media organically, we'll start posting and measure success by how many leads you got in 10 years, not in 1 year or even 1 month or Yeah. So, because a whole experience here at Toxic Landscaping, we were probably doing a weekly YouTube video for, I don't know, I bet you 3 to 5 years before it became like customers were finding out about us on YouTube.
Interesting.
So, takes time.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
All right, thank you, brother.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
You betcha.
Yeah.